All right, welcome back. That's Some Cheese, part of the Vendetta Sports Podcast Network. Today is May 1st, 2023. Jarrod Prosser is here. We're going to be going over the first round NBA stuff and then give you a preview for the second round. I know we're through game one in a couple series, but, there's a lot going on. NFL draft, NHL playoffs. The Bruins decided that they were going to win 65 games and lose in the first round. So it's a circus in sports. Jarrod, what's going on? How are you?
I'm doing well, mate. It's as you mentioned, it's May 1st. It's time to test your Boston sports bona fides. So if I said to you it's happy Sam Malone Day, you'd know what I meant.
No, not really.
Oh, come on. I mean, I know you and I are slightly different generations, but you don't know the whole Sam Malone reference?
No.
Do you remember the show Cheers?
No.
With Ted Danson. Oh, my God.
I've never seen that one.
World. Okay. No, he ran a baseballer, star baseballer who lost his career to alcoholism, who owns a bar and never drinks, basically.
Okay.
For 10 years, it was arguably the best show on television anywhere in the world.
If it's not a sports reference, the odds are I probably didn't get it.
Well, his nickname was Mayday, Sam Mayday Malone. So there we go. We've thrown a little bit of 80s, early 90s trivia into it right from the start, and we've probably lost 3/4 of our audience as a result. So my apologies.
So I figured we'll go over the first round series, work our way through it. Why don't we just start with the, I guess the Bruins NBA version, we call it that, the Milwaukee Bucks. I mean, this was almost worse. 5-gamer, done.
Yeah.
5-gamer.
Suffice to say, we both picked Milwaukee in this one.
Yes. I believe I had it in the other direction, Milwaukee in 5.
Yeah, well, that's the you said Milwaukee in 5, and I said if you hadn't have picked them in 5, I would have, and I went with the Milwaukee sweep. And look, I was going to write an article for the website. Giannis's speech afterwards about, just because we didn't win a championship, it's not a failure. Now, as you know, I run a junior sports organization over here. And I looked at that speech and I thought, that is just perfect for the kids and the coaches that I look after. But
not for them.
This is a professional sports team. This is a sports team that have got when you throw in various taxes and whatnot, a $200 million annual payroll. And I was going to write an article about, great premise, but probably not for this situation.
If he was on the Sacramento Kings this year,
so I lost the chance.
If he was playing for the Sacramento Kings this year, great season for them, I think.
Absolutely.
But this is a team that's won the title before. This was a number 1 seed. This is a team that's pretty expensive tax-wise.
And getting old.
Yeah. How many more chances you got at this thing?
Yeah, exactly. Look, I really appreciate the way Giannis thinks, and he is wired differently. I read his autobiography, his biography last year, and it really delves into how his upbringing in, for want of a better word, poverty, has really made him very different to the, I guess, traditional superstar we see in US sports. And I think that's probably where a lot of that response came from, that it's not ring or bust for him, that the journey is what it is. But at the same time, this season is a failure. There is no other way to put it.
Yeah.
You lose Giannis for effectively the first 3 games, and he was nowhere near as I was remarkable he put up the numbers he did in the other 2 games, because you watch him and he wasn't the same. But Miami are missing arguably their second best player in Tyler Herro, at worst 3rd. Bam was a shadow of himself on one end of the floor for most of the series. And ultimately, this series was decided because Jimmy Buckets went fucking nuclear.
Yeah. He was worth about 5 of their players.
Oh, he was their entire 5 from time to time. We got a bit of a throwback series from Kyle Lowry too, admittedly.
Yes, how about that one?
Yeah,
moved to the bench actually did him favors.
Yeah, I didn't expect him to be the influence on this series that he was at age 37 now, is he?
Something like that.
Yeah, it was quite a surprise, but all credit to the old warhorse. But no, this series is all about A, Jimmy, and B, where do the Bucks go from here?
What about C? Is Budenholzer coaching again?
Well, that falls under B for me.
Okay.
Because, and that leads me into probably the biggest mismatch in this series. You can talk about the injuries. You can talk about Butler going, being white hot, Giannis not being quite right. But ultimately, Eric Spoelstra, who I've said forever and ever, amen, is the best coach in the league, gave Mike Budenholzer a bare bottom spanking in this series. It wasn't even close. It came out after Budenholzer's brother had died in a car accident after game 1 or 2. So there's a little bit of a mitigation there. And, I don't want to dump on a man who's just lost a sibling, but
that was
Budenholzer coached awfully in this series. And it may just well be that his mind was elsewhere. And I wouldn't blame him for that, quite frankly. But, Spoelstra just ran rings around him.
Yeah. I don't even have much to add because I don't want to pile on the guy, but that was awful.
Yeah, it was. It was. If I was honestly thinking, there was I think it was either after game 4 or 5, Giannis is in the post-game interview, and he's talking about we didn't adjust, which ranks straight back to the Miami era, bud. But it's also when you hear stuff like that from your resident superstar, the writing is just about on the wall.
Does he ever adjust, Budenholzer?
Sorry?
Does he ever adjust? Has he adjusted in 5 years?
Well, it's a weird thing. He tends to adjust in the off-season, but in-game adjustments,
no.
It's
never.
Not even an Achilles heel for him. It's what's worse than an Achilles heel? That's whatever it is. He's a brilliant strategist. I will give Budenholzer all the credit in the world. He's a fantastic strategist. But as far as in-game adjustments go, he is, relative to his status as a coach and his ability as a coach, his in-game adjustments, the gap between them and what he usually does is monstrous. And again, he just might not have been on the ball this series because of family matters, but it's not the first time that we've been here with Coach Bud either.
How about Jay Crowder? He played a total of 10 minutes and he gave up 4 second rounders for him.
Look, I gotta wonder how much Jay Crowder might have left.
That's fair, but if you're gonna give up 4 second rounders for him,
it's a botch trade. It's a horrible trade in retrospect. But it made sense in the moment. Yeah, this was their PJ Tucker facsimile. I absolutely got it, and I think the general NBA populace did as well. But with the benefit of 2020 hindsight, that's a woeful trade. And there've been people piling on Crowder for this, which I'm sort of surprised we haven't seen your leave Britney alone type video. But look, we know how much you love that man. Yeah. But it'd be he's clearly not going to stick around in Milwaukee. So it's interesting to see whether this was bad management by the Bucks or whether this was Crowder just not having it anymore.
They didn't play him.
But that's the thing. They might not have played him because they see him in training every day. And he just might not have it. We don't know until we see him get regular minutes again. But I'm really interested in seeing which way that goes.
I'm curious to see where the whole franchise goes. They got to do something.
Yeah, look, I honestly thought Bud was out the door until the car accident thing came out. Now I'm 50-50. But as far as roster construction, there's not really much they can do. They've got no cap space. They've got no draft picks. They haven't really hit on any draft picks since, outside of maybe DiVincenzo and Brogdon, who neither of them with the team. That trade, in retrospect, really hurts them, the DiVincenzo for Ibaka trade from 18 months ago, whatever it was. Even in the moment, that
was something I brought up last year.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Even in the moment, it didn't look good. But as it gets further along, and you see DiVincenzo being a contributor to the Warriors, and Ibaka's, I don't know, is he still in the league? I'm genuinely not sure.
He's done.
Yeah, if he is, he's hanging on as a character guy, 14th on the roster. Yeah, look, the Bucks have to run it back again. They have to trust that this was a combination of their coach not being entirely there, their star man injured, Middleton not getting a full season in, and Butler going troppo. So
are you going to get another season like this out of Brook Lopez again, though?
That's the thing. That's what probably. Well, to be honest, I actually think Middleton's more of a risk, even though he's 4 years younger. Lopez has just gone 35 a couple of weeks ago, but his game has never been predicated on speed and agility.
He was so good defensively this year.
Well, second in DPOY. He's a brilliant defender. If I had my imaginary vote, I strongly considered him putting him first. But Middleton is the bigger worry for me in that so much of their offense revolves around what Middleton can do with the basketball in his hands. And if his legs are just gone, if his knees are no good, considering he's only 31, I mean, he'll be 32 when next season starts, but in modern basketball, you're still 2 years away from the end of your peak at 34. At 32. So if he's done, he's a free agent. They can't replace him.
No,
he'll ask for $30 million a year. I mean, that's what Gordon Hayward got, and he's better than Gordon Hayward, and plays more than Gordon Hayward.
Yeah.
Good luck. So I honestly think the Bucks will just have to run it back. They have no choice.
Okay.
Well, Giannis can opt out at the end of next season, I believe.
Oh boy. We're talking about that?
Well, that's where you have to run it back. You have to give this another go. Because if you decide to rebuild now, Giannis might get 1 year of this and go, you know what? I love Milwaukee, but I liked winning a lot more. Let's go somewhere else. And that franchise back another decade.
I think we'll leave the Bucks section at that.
Yeah. We could do an hour on the Bucks by themselves. And I feel like we've done a disservice to Miami here. We've barely touched on them. We will touch on them when
we'll get to
their second round series. But, I mean, it's the Bucks are the story in this one.
We'll do this one a little bit quicker. New York Knicks. I felt pretty good about the Knicks, or I meant to say the Cleveland Cavaliers. I felt pretty good about the Knicks winning the series. I think I had them in 7. They got it done.
I had the Cavs in 6 for this one. I just thought this one will go. I just thought Cleveland have got just enough scoring power, just enough defense at the rim. But as it turns out, like Brunson just gets better and better. And you remember in our first round preview pod, you brought up what's happened to Mitchell Robinson.
Well,
turns out he's Bill Russell.
They killed him on the glass.
Blocking shots.
The whole series, they killed him on the glass.
Oh, he did. He made Jarrett Allen look like a rookie. He really did.
Worse than that.
Yeah. And I mean, Mobley looked overawed, which you can sort of expect. It's their first playoff run with expectation. But I think the more concerning thing, because considering that they've given up the farm for Mitchell, is that Mitchell just might not be a first option on a championship contender.
He was all NBA. He's going to be all NBA.
He will be, but when it gets to the playoffs, it's a different game.
Yeah.
There's plenty of guys who score 26, 27 a game in the regular season who just can't deal with the extra layers of scouting that come from playing someone a minimum of 4 times in a row.
He was very underwhelming. Very.
He was. And, we've seen it before as well. Yeah, and in Utah, you could sort of excuse it because there really was no other offensive fulcrum. Conley was too old. Gobert can space vertically, but you can't give him the ball and say, hey, go to work, big fella. It was pretty much all Mitchell all the time. Ingles is a spot-up guy. Bogdanovich is probably the closest they had to another on-ball creator. But he's, again, more of a spot-up guy. So we've seen this before from Mitchell, and this just might be what he is. He might be, he's a defensive liability. As much as he works hard, he's 6'1", if that. So, that's the big concern for me with Cleveland. They just, yes, they could do with some bench depth. Yes, they could do with a wing who can do anything with the ball. But if Mitchell isn't that guy, there is a ceiling on this Cleveland team, which surprised me.
I had 3 things for the Cavs. Mitchell, very underwhelming. Jarrett Allen got punked. And one thing that I actually thought that I called pretty well. This dog's going crazy. Josh Hart made the difference. And the Cavs just don't have somebody like that. Like,
how good would Josh Hart look as the starting 3 in Cleveland?
Yeah. They just don't have somebody like that. Okoro, not it. Levert, not it. I just felt like that was going to be a huge difference maker in this series. And it ended up being.
Levert could end up going to like a 15-win team, a 20-win team, and he'll average 26 a game and he'll make
sure.
But he's just not like he is what we thought Devin Booker was 5 years ago.
He doesn't get the complimentary stuff at all.
No. He has to have the ball in his hand. He doesn't really play D. He can't create for others. He is the definition of the empty calories player.
He'd look really good on the Rockets right now, though.
Would he? Man, I'm not even sure. Like, seriously, like if you dragged Olajuwon and Drexler out of retirement and put them in their own 24-year-old bodies, I'm not sure they'd look good in that ecosystem right now. That is a show, Houston.
That's funny. All right. Atlanta Hawks. They lost to the Celtics. They put up a little bit more of a fight than I thought they would. Mostly because Trae Young hit a big shot in the end of Game 5. But I don't know. Are we going to be positive about the Hawks?
Well, we both had Boston in a sweep for this one.
Yeah.
They had, and look, after the first 2 games, it really looked like it was going to be a sweep as well. Yeah. But no, the team and Trae Young in particular showed more fight than I thought they would, more cohesion than I thought they would. Ultimately, they weren't going to win the series.
Snyder deserves a lot of credit because that could have been a disaster, and it really wasn't.
Well, that's where I wanted to go. Was this resilience a player-led thing, or was that the coach getting through to them? And we'll only know come next season, assuming that the roster is pretty much intact. If they stumble and fall out of the blocks, we'll know, okay, it was just a brief little blip, that the players had some professional pride. If it's something where it's maintained, we can probably put that on Snyder. But yeah, look, I was kind of pleasantly surprised by the Hawks, to be honest. I didn't think they would, they had a puncher's chance at winning a game, but winning 2, including one in Boston, I didn't see that happening. Credit to Trae Young.
Bogdanovich.
Which is not a phrase you hear me say often.
I love Bogdanovich.
Oh, yeah.
Every time that guy shoots the ball, it's going in.
Yeah. No, he's just a genuinely good basketball player.
Yeah.
He's the sort of guy who, no matter the role you put him in, he's going to do a pretty good job at it. Very heady player. There's like outside the shooting and he's playmaking and all that. He's just an adaptable player.
It just felt like every time the Celtics would start to pull away, he hit like 3 big shots, and you're like, "Oh, here we go."
Yeah, it's a shame that his knee's no good. I don't think we've, and he didn't come over to the NBA until he was 25, I think, 26, something like that. Yeah. So we haven't really seen the best of him either. I've got friends who follow European basketball far more closely than I do. I sort of follow the Australians over there, but that's about it. And they all said, no, this, like 2 years before he came into the NBA, they were saying, no, this guy is the best player outside the NBA. And we've seen flashes of it, but yeah, it's a shame. We've never just seen an extended period of Bogdanovich just getting it done. But you're right, he was really good in this series.
Anything else on the Hawks?
Very interested to see what they do with their big man rotation. Capella, Okongwu, Collins. I don't know what they're going to do, but I am very, very interested to see what happens there.
Yeah. And then Brooklyn, they didn't put up any fight. I thought they would put up a little bit more of a fight than they did.
They tried, but
yeah.
It was, what did we have for that one? Let me find we both had Philly in 5, and we were probably being generous.
I thought the Nets would get one.
Yeah, and I haven't, I know in my case, I thought that the Nets would get one because there would be one game where Philly would just inexplicably shit the bed. But, Philly took care of business, credit to them. And so they should. This isn't a very good, they're a side that...
It's not Bridges' fault that they lost.
Sorry?
It's not Bridges' fault that they lost.
No, it's not any of their fault that they lost. They're at a massive talent disadvantage. This is a side that is better than what I think anybody would have rightly expected after the trades that they've had to make, and even going back to Harden for Simmons, which has essentially been Harden for nothing. There's no other way to put it. The guy doesn't play basketball anymore.
I think I said that when it happened.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that getting away from that toxicity of the Sixers situation, and to be honest, suiting up with Patty Mills, who is just like an oracle to the Australian players. I thought if anyone's going to get anything out of him, it's going to be, sitting next to Patty Mills on the charter flights all the time. But look, to me, I just don't think Ben Simmons loves basketball. I think he'd rather be back home playing AFL football. And he was a wonderful Aussie rules player as a junior. I just think he'd rather be at home playing Aussie rules.
The sad thing is, if the Nets had this wing depth with the team that they had with Durant, if they had Cam Johnson and Finney Smith and Bridges and then the stars, that's a dangerous team.
Tough to put that team together though. That's a that's the sort of team you put together on 2K. Yeah. But yeah, look, this series is what it is. Brooklyn were I said it in the first round preview. This side is at best a play-in side who are only a number 6 because they did have 2 superstars to start the year.
Yeah.
So 4 wins, 5 wins, or 4 games, 5 games, whatever it happened to be. It's pretty much what we expected.
Yeah, we'll do the West teams that got knocked out now. Make sure to follow Jarrod. That is hey_JP. Follow the site, vendettasportsmedia.com. We'll have these videos up somewhere. Timberwolves. I mean, I'm not surprised they lost. I thought they were going to lose, but that was not great.
Yeah, look, again, they showed flashes, but I said at the start of the series that if Denver pulled their finger out and managed to flick the switch, then they'd win it in 4, and ultimately they won it in 5. It's just a shame we didn't get to see a full Minnesota team, to be honest.
Yeah.
McDaniels is just such a huge loss to them. All those times that Murray was going off, you could just
think off yesterday too.
Yeah, absolutely. And this just on Murray, this version of Murray is why Jokic won MVPs, because he kept that team afloat without that next to him. That to me shows how good Jokic was. Forget everything he did individually. It's the fact that he did it without his second and most of the time without his third best player next to him. But back onto this series, you could, if anyone was going to slow down Murray, it was going to be McDaniels. And that way you could let Ant, play some tough D on a less dynamic scorer in Porter Jr. and still let him run the offense. So, yeah, they were up against it right from the get-go. And, yeah.
Where do you go from here?
I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, you're going to get you're going to get quarters on the dollar if you trade.
Not even.
There. Yeah, exactly.
Based on what you gave up, not even.
Well, yeah, no, absolutely. Based on his value as a player, you won't get even value. But based on what he gave up, I mean, that's well sailed. I mean, do they go the nuclear option? Russell's not there anymore. Do they go the nuclear option and trade Towns? I know. I mean, this is where we're at. The other side of it is, though.
I'll tell you what, he'd be perfect for the Knicks, though.
I think Tibbs might kill him by Christmas.
Fair.
Like, literally just strangle him and leave him to die.
But I think him and Brunson would pair very well.
Offensively, yeah.
Yes.
But defensively, no.
Yeah.
Look, he would space the floor for Randall, but
Yes.
if you're running a front court of Julius Randle and Karl Anthony Towns, you and I could be at the 4 and the 5, and we'd lead a top half of the NBA offense.
Yeah. Offensively, they'd be very good, though.
Oh, yeah, they'd be brilliant to watch offensively. You mentioned Randall with that sort of space of Towns drawing a center, it'd be magic. But, yeah, Tim Tanky's hat on D. And I think Tims would have a stroke if he was forced to coach those two as his star front court. I just can't see it happening. But, look, yeah, I don't know. I mean, the one mitigating factor for Minnesota is that Gobert missed the preseason with Eurobasket and Towns missed it ill. And then Towns missed most of the season injured. So they haven't really gotten to see what it looks like. So that was where I was surprised that they did trade Russell in the deadline.
I think they were better with Conley.
Oh, no, they absolutely were. But given that was going to be their big four, McDaniels as the complementary fifth piece, considering Towns just didn't get a clean look this season at all, I was surprised that they made that call rather than just going, okay, well, this season is a little bit of a lost season. Everyone's under contract. Let's run it back and get a full preseason with these guys and see what Chris Finch, who is this alleged genius, see what he can conjure with this group before you decide to make drastic decisions.
I don't know where you go from here. I have no idea.
I honestly think the only option is Towns. If you're going to do something drastic, short of running it back, the only option is Towns for me. Because you're not trading him.
At any given moment, we could get Anthony Edwards. I'm not happy. At any moment.
We could. We definitely could. But what's he under contract for? Another... Is he been extended? I'm not sure.
I think this will be his fourth year, right? Coming up, or third year?
He must have been, yeah, he has to have been extended then. There's no way he would have gotten to the fourth year.
Let me look.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong about that. He's 21. This will be his fourth year coming up.
Okay, so he's had 3. Yeah, no, he would have signed an extension then, surely. So they've got him under contract a few more years. I mean, if you trade Towns and see what...
They at least have his rights.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Precisely. You know, say, look, I know you want out, but how about we rebuild around you? We make you the centerpiece and not Cat, which is, frankly, is the right way to go. Towns is not as good a player as Edwards at either end. Yeah, that's a mess up there. It's a proper mess.
How about the LA Clippers? A team that might be more of a mystery on where they go from here.
Oh, I don't think there's a mystery. I think they re-sign everyone and go again.
Really?
Yeah. Well, again, they've got no draft picks left. They've got the perfect complementary pieces around their pair. You just have to bite the bullet and go for it.
I don't think
they can stay healthy. When they are healthy, those 2 tentpole stars, the Clippers are arguably the best team in the league. But you just don't know when they're going to fall over. You know they're going to fall over. You just don't know when.
I wasn't on this side before, but I think I am now. It feels like Kawhi stealing money from them.
Yeah, you probably will. But if you're the Clippers, what are your options? You're moving into this brand spanking new building that your owner has built specifically for you. The first time you've had your own building since they were in the Coliseum 25 years ago because Sterling was a tight ass. You need to have a product to put on the floor. Unless you can get something unbelievable for Kawhi and PG and all of these other veterans, which isn't going to happen. You know, it's just not. I really think they've got no choice but to run it back. And if these guys fall over in March, April, May again and a sideline, then so be it. But if they can stay healthy, that's a hell of a basketball side. This is like the biggest if in the world.
I don't want to go too far down the trade machine rabbit hole, but I think the Raptors would take Kawhi back and give you a really good package for him.
I don't know that they would.
Okay.
I really don't know that they would. I mean, when they got him last time, he was, just as much of a distressed asset. But they got him knowing it was a 1-year deal. And he's already left them once. So why would they trade him? And more to the point for this situation, trade a reasonable amount of assets to the Clippers, knowing that he's already left them once and he's probably going to leave them again.
Let's say, hey, it was a really good fit. I liked being there. I'm willing to stay this time around.
I don't think that's Kawhi, though.
Okay, maybe.
I think Kawhi's happy being at home.
Do we know anything about Kawhi? Does he talk? Does he give them any updates on how he's doing?
We know that he once watched a human laugh and tried to replicate it. I honestly don't think Kawhi would want to move. I think Kawhi would want to stay.
Okay.
And the big thing for me, look, he'll sign for a lot of money. But, fair enough. When he's healthy, he's an all-NBA player. But it would be interesting to me to see how that contract is structured as far as, various injury clauses and appearance clauses and statistical clauses. I think
he's never going to get all NBA again.
Contract of just clauses.
He's never going to get all NBA again.
He won't play enough games.
No.
And to be honest, if Kawhi does play 65 games, you would be questioning if he plays 65 games, how much are you putting on his body that he's going to break down in round 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever it is?
I thought you
have to put him in all sorts of cotton wool.
I thought you were going to say if he plays 65 games, the apocalypse is coming.
Oh, look. I completely get the theory of the Clippers. I completely understand. I think they've got a really good coach.
And every team would have did that trade.
Deep.
Every team would have did that trade.
Well, I know it was Zach Lowe who said it, and he's never disclosed who said it to him. But he said that this could be, when it happened, we say these trades, one of them was a trade and one of them was a free agency signing, but let's group them together. These acquisitions, we'll call them, could ruin the Clippers, but you also have to do it every single time. Toronto were taking a massive risk because they didn't know if Kawhi would play. They got a banner hanging up now. So that's why you have to go again. This is the Clippers. This isn't the Lakers or the Bulls or the Celtics or any of those organizations that have got multiple banners sitting there. The Heat. This is a team that has been utterly, utterly moribund for decades. And right now, there are kids who roll up to the trainings that I run wearing their Kawhi tops and their PG tops, their Clipper tops. No one, I can guarantee no one around the turn of the century was rolling up in a Darius Miles top or a Danny fucking Manning top. The Clippers were a joke. So they have to run this back because right now they're relevant. They're moving into a new building, and you never know. They might strike it lucky, and everyone's healthy for a postseason run. And if that happens,
okay,
you never know. You just never know.
All right. I like Zubac.
He's good.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good players on this team.
He rebounds.
He does his job.
Yeah.
He just does his job. Perfect role player. Now, look, I really like that team, but the issue is that team is never together.
These next two will probably take just as long to go over. Memphis. We're fine in the West, apparently.
Hey, Jackson.
We're fine in the West. John Morant.
Well, when I was on Jackson's pod a month or two ago, he was talking about how Austin Reeves comes from somewhere pretty local to him.
Mm-hmm.
So it's everyone was kind of barracking for him, rooting for him to do well, get the bag, all that sort of thing. I would be interested to see if we just gave him a little injection of truth serum, how much Jackson Law is still barracking for his man, Austin Reeves.
Absolutely.
Or whether he wants to burn his effigy in the street. So
the only reason he's not is because he's playing for the Lakers and he doesn't want to seem like, puff the Lakers tires. That's what it is.
Man, I'll tell you what, look, there was a good friend of mine. He brought up the very good point that since the Lakers fans are always talking about how they would have beaten Phoenix a couple of seasons ago if AD and LeBron hadn't have gotten injured, then considering the injuries that racked the Grizzlies, then in Lakers fans' eyes, this series should be null and void, which of course won't happen. But I thought interesting point to bring up. Look, Davis was, assuming he could stay healthy, Davis was always going to be massive in this series. Tillman guards him well, but Tillman...
He's a tank.
Well, he's such an offensive liability that you can't play him more than 20, 25 minutes. And then, as it turned out, he was actually the primary option on LeBron after a while. So that left Davis to just, run rampant inside. He taught Jaren Jackson Jr. a lesson.
Kill him. How many games did I have the Lakers? I think you had the Grizzlies.
We both went 7 for this one. I had Memphis, you had Lakers. The injuries for me just made it such a toss-up, but I figured the home team would get it in Game 7.
They killed them in Game 6.
It was embarrassing. 40 points.
It was
Dylan
over.
Brooks wanted a 40 piece. He got one.
How about Dylan Brooks? What a bad series for him.
Man, I'll tell you what. Every other NBA team should almost collate here and ban themselves as a collection of 29 teams from signing Dylan Brooks so that he has to go back to Memphis just to handicap Memphis.
For me, it was the refusing to speak after the game. He hid. He went into a shelter.
Yeah, it was unprofessional. Now, if you're going to talk, you got to be prepared to get.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Jamie Vardy, the English soccer player. As he said, chat shit, get banged. If you're going to chat shit, you got to be prepared to get banged.
He hid like a little girl.
Yep.
It was crazy.
Yeah. But are we shocked? Are we shocked?
No.
No. This is who Dylan Brooks is.
Huh.
Look, they're always up against it. I mean, missing Adams, missing Clark, then losing, next to Bain, their only other competent outside shooter in Kennard. They were always going to struggle. And look, the other side of it is we mentioned that Brooklyn were essentially a play-in team who had parlayed their early season record into a number 6 seed. This Lakers side is probably a top 4 seed who parlayed their shithouse early season form into a 7 seed, into a playoff position, a play-in position. So this is better than a 2-7. They're better than a 7. Memphis weren't as good as a 2. It's probably somewhere around a 4-5 series.
They had the best record after the trade deadline, the Lakers.
Yeah, they did. Exactly. So, and look, I think, I'd need to go back on Tankathon or something to check it, but I'm pretty sure they had a really gentle run in the Lakers. But nonetheless, this was, this to me was like a 4-5 series with the lineups that could be put on the floor. And, ultimately the side that had more talent available to them won, and won pretty damn handsomely.
Do you have any thoughts on John Morant?
Not really. I mean, he's got to get whatever's going on off the floor sorted out.
I would like to see him be a better defender.
He just might not be that guy. I mean, and that's fine. All he has to do is be competent as a defender, and he's not far from that now. Took years for Curry to get to that point. Allen Iverson, outside of
Curry's come a long way on that side.
He has. Yeah, he's become a very, very good defender. Oh, that's overstating it, Jarrod. He's become someone who can hold and end up. He's not going to get destroyed. Allen Iverson picked up some gaudy steal numbers in his career, but that's
back when they played the Cavs in the finals that one year, it was whoever offense. Whoever he was guarding had the ball and they were scoring.
Yeah, they just pull him up in the pick and roll every time. But no, I mean, it is fine for an explosive, high-scoring guard to not be an ace defender, especially when you've got, guys like Adams and Jackson Jr. behind you. If it was it's much more of an issue when you've got a high-scoring, explosive center who can't.
They're also, I don't know, maybe this is unfair, but it feels like they're very chaotic at times with him. Like there's these flurries back and forth, and 4 bad plays will happen and 4 good plays will happen, and they're just all over the place.
That is his style. I mean, It's the style of the Grizzlies by proxy, but that is his style. Remember, he's not a particularly good outside shooter, and he might be, a top 5 open court player in the world. So you have to get out and run a lot. That's the way he's going to succeed. Fortunately for Memphis, they've got the counterbalance in Tyus Jones, who is extremely deliberate and very much a half-court point guard. So they can go to half-court sets with, Jar at the 2 when they need to and play Bane at the 3 in a 3-guard lineup. But no, he is chaotic, but he wouldn't be the player he is without that chaos. Like, his chaos is controlled, if that makes sense.
Fair.
Like he needs that. Like he dictates the play better
it just feels like sometimes there's a 2-3 minute stretch where he's turning the ball over, he's going up and down the floor, he's not playing any defense, he takes a shot that he shouldn't be taking, and then all of a sudden you're like, he just gave away 6-7 points.
But that's the nature of chaos type basketball as well. When it looks awesome, like when it works, we get these monstrous dunks over Kevin Love and Aaron Baines. When it doesn't, we get the situation you just touched on. That's the give and take of chaos ball. It's you get a team that shoots a ton of threes. When it works, you sit there and go, it's raining fire. How do we stop this? When it doesn't, you get the Rockets missing 27 straight threes in the conference finals game. So, it's Newton's third law. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction.
Yeah. Lastly, Sacramento. I don't care what anybody says. This was a great season for them. Anybody that says a bad word about this Kings team, I
will fucking fight them.
Yeah.
I am so proud of that Kings side. I'm not a Kings fan. I've never been a Kings fan. But I am really proud of that group of players.
Yes.
For not just for the playoff series.
They almost lost their team.
Entire season. Sorry?
They almost lost their team.
Yeah, exactly. If there was a team that was going to go to Vegas or Seattle, they were it. And now they've got this whiz-bang arena, this brilliant marketing, like it's a gimmick, but Jesus, the beam is good. They've got a really good young team, and, they're only going to get better. Outside of Harrison Barnes, all of their core players are on the way up or at their peak.
And it sounds like he wants to stay there.
I think he absolutely would.
I think he's their only free agent, too.
Possibly. There might be 1 or 2 down the bottom of the depth charts that are, in fact, there probably is, but I'd still love to see them use Rashawn Holmes more.
And they have cap space.
Wasted on that team.
They can legitimately re-sign Barnes and add.
Yeah. Ooh. Giannis trade.
Oh boy.
The Bucks blow it up. Cat trade.
I'm just waiting for the Bill Simmons apology. We haven't gotten that yet. When he said the Kings should trade De'Aaron Fox for Westbrook to collect some first round picks. I'm waiting for that apology, but I'm not sure we're going to get that one.
I have actually listened to a couple of his pods over this playoff series, and he's actually been really effusive. He hasn't apologized for that specifically.
Okay.
I think he's hoping people forget that one.
Okay.
But he, to his credit, he has been really high in his praise for this Kings team. And so he should. Anyone who isn't high on their praise for this Kings team is blind or stupid. This has been a really entertaining series. And if Fox hadn't have injured his finger, he still played well, but you could tell he just wasn't quite right. And ultimately, this went to 7, and it took a Steph Curry masterclass to finally put them to bed. Let's forget the Kings for a moment and just look at what Steph was doing. Clay didn't have it. Wiggins didn't have it. Jordan was the pool was empty. And Curry and Kevon Looney, who, geez, I mentioned Bill, Mitch Bob turned into Bill Russell.
Give me 1 second.
No, an unplanned break here on That's Some Cheese. Let's go with some break in transmission music. Some
Okay. Anyway,
we're going to come back to 30 seconds of that. No, but I mentioned that Mitch Robinson turned into Bill Russell. Kevon Looney, my God.
Oh my God. That was insane.
Unreal. And look, people forget with Looney, he was a really, he was a 5-star high school player who just got injured when he went to college. His hips went when he went to college. So he's someone who can play a bigger role than what he does. But my God, he was phenomenal in this series.
I was going to say, we've seen Klay Thompson shoot them out of games. Like, I love Klay Thompson. He's a great player. Yeah. But there have been times over the last 2 years where he's had terrible shooting performances, completely shot them out of the game. 4-19, and they won by how much did they win by? They won by 20. 4-19, yeah. They won by 20.
But that is down to Looney and especially Steph.
Yeah.
You can just see that Steph kind of knew that nobody else really had it in that game, and he just had to do it all himself. And this is a man who, what is he now, 35? Is he 35?
35.
34?
35.
He's 35. I mean, to pull a 50-piece on someone else's patch in a game 7, I don't know. It's been a decade now, close enough to a decade of Steph Curry doing this stuff. And we are running out of words to use to describe this man. But that was ridiculous. He was so good.
Are you going to come around on him being the best point guard of all time argument?
To me, he's and this hurts for me as a Utah fan, but he's gone past Stockton, clearly.
Yeah.
I
think he laughed at me when I said he was better than Magic Johnson one time.
Yeah, and look, I still think Magic's better.
Okay.
And I mean, for you and I, it's different. You were born after Magic retired. Yes. I watched Magic in his prime.
In fairness, though, when I was a little kid, I used to watch those games on replay. I used to put I mean, they were over by the time I watched them, but it's
a different thing though. I can go and watch Kareem tapes.
Yeah. And
I can appreciate what he did, but I wasn't there in the 70s.
Yeah.
I can watch Russell and Kuzi, but I wasn't there in the 60s and 50s. So, look, for me, it's still Magic. It's the best point guard I've ever seen. But
are we closing in for you?
You can make an argument.
Okay.
Before, I would just shut it down as soon as anybody said it. But now, I would say I would sit back with a little smirk on my face and go, "Okay, make your case."
Okay,
and that's progress.
That's all I wanted to hear.
Yeah. Look, he's moving up. And look, there's still potentially 3 more series for Curry to.
Sure.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like he's done either.
Who would bet against him?
Doesn't look like he's done or close to done.
No. Even if his team around him aren't what they were, he's still got some arrows in that quiver.
Last thing, Keegan Murray. Whoa.
Really recovered well. Awful start to the series, but geez, he recovered well.
Yeah.
Took him a few games to get used to the cauldron of playoff basketball.
That's what it's all about, right? Young player come in, first playoff moment. Okay, adjust. Let's see what he's got towards the end of the series. Bang.
Yeah. Yep.
That was great.
And I was impressed with Malik Monk too.
Yeah.
Played awfully in game 7, but a really good series overall.
Yeah. All right, let's do the first or the second round previews.
Yes.
Let's start Boston, Philly. I guess mostly because that one hasn't started yet, and Joel Embiid, he's not playing in game 1.
Apparently, yeah.
We don't know when he's going to play.
Yeah, he might do a Willis Reed and roll out onto the court 3 minutes in. But look, if Embiid's out, then realistically, Harden's going to need to go back into a time machine for 5 years for this team to have any shot. Who's the next best center on the Sixers roster? Is it Paul Reed?
That's where I was going to go with it. It was like the only chance the 76ers have is to beat up the small front court of the Celtics.
Yeah.
If he's out, the Celtics have the edge in the front court.
Yes, they absolutely do. So this is one of those if or predictions. But for me, we should be analysing this more before we go into the predictions. But for me, if Embiid doesn't play, this could be a sweep. If he does, and he's at somewhere around 80-90%, then I think it's going to be a real humdinger of a series. I'm still going to say Boston in 6.
Okay.
But
that's where I was going to go.
Yeah. But, yeah, if Embiid's out or he comes back and he's a shadow of himself, yeah, we could be looking at a pretty ugly series.
I have a Celtics question for you.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on Missoula? I don't want to crush the guy. It feels unfair. He didn't get a fair shake. He probably shouldn't have. And 99% of the time, that guy is never promoted that fast, I should say.
No. If the Celtics front office had any inkling of what was happening with Udoka, they would not have let Will Hardy go.
No.
That much is clear. Will Hardy was the next man up.
Yeah.
So Missoula getting the job, and it's not even just getting the job as the backup to the backup. It's when he got the job. It was so late in the preseason when that all happened. So suddenly the whole dynamic of not just the team, but his job changes.
Right.
And I think he's handled it really well. Clearly, I don't think he's ready to be an NBA coach at the top-end championship level just yet.
I agree.
But there is potential in him. I think he's going to be a very good coach. I just think that the poor bloke has been thrust above his station, and I hope it doesn't count against him in the long run or spook him. It doesn't hinder his development as a coach.
I don't know what to make of him. I have no clue. It's just it feels so unfair to blast the guy ever, just because he was put in an unfair spot. And even when he got the job, the regular season was about to start, he had no time.
Precisely. You don't have to change too much from what Udoka was doing, but just these are human beings we're talking about. This isn't 2K where you can just put in a different coach and run the same stuff. There is a whole different dynamic, and Udoka was a beacon for that team. That team, those players adored him. So to have that thrust upon them at that point, right before the season starts, it's harsh on the team, but it is incredibly harsh on Missoula. He does some really good things, but he also makes some absolutely boneheaded adjustments and some non-adjustments where it's staring you in the face what needs to happen. But at the same time, he's the guy who promoted Derek White to being a full-time starter.
Yep.
And that's worked sensationally. I think he's given Jaylen Brown has taken another step under him. He's clearly ostracized Grant Williams, and I would be absolutely shocked if he's a Celtic next season.
I
don't know what's happening with Rob Williams. He doesn't seem to play him all that much, and I don't know whether it's a trust thing or a.
I hope it's a we need you. I hope it's a we need you thing.
Exactly. That's what I'm hoping. But all the reports, and you occasionally get this little. Sources say that Rob Williams is not happy with his role and all that. Where there's smoke, there's fire generally. So I don't know whether he's underusing him because he doesn't trust him or he wants more offense from the 5 or whatever it might be. But I'm hoping that it's just the case of he's saying, "Hey, we would have won a title if you were healthy last season, and we want you healthy for those times, not for." Some game in Charlotte on the 10th of February.
I get it. I would have wrapped him in bubble wrap in the first round.
Yeah. So. Well, they didn't play him too much. And look, ultimately, there's a lot of reports that Giannis could have played game 3. But Milwaukee felt like, okay, they've split it. They're going to go back and steal one in Miami once Giannis is back. So it just shows you get to the playoffs, you can take nothing for granted. Especially when Trae Young can go off for a 40-piece, 40 and 11,
Nobody is weirder about their timeouts than Mazzulla, though.
And that's what I'm meaning by the glaring errors that he makes. Like there will be times where he'll let them play through, where you're going, you need to stop this. Like it might be a 12-2 run in the second quarter, or it might be a late clock situation in the fourth. But sometimes he'll let them play through, and other times he'll just call random timeouts, and you're expecting to see some sort of blob or slob play, and it looks like my under 12s. Like it's just throw it up there and see what happens.
And they come out worse after the timeout sometimes.
Yeah. So I don't. And again, it's really tough to judge a guy who was, he was in the third chair.
Yeah.
And then moved up to the second, was expecting to
We'll find out more about him next year and the year after.
Absolutely. Yeah, we will. So to me, he's probably not a championship level coach right now, but that's not to say he can't be.
I like his mentality. Like he seems like a leader, seems tough, seems like he has no problem barking at guys if he has to. Like that stuff he gets. It's just, man.
And that seems to be a prerequisite for being on a Udoka bench too, because Will Hardy's the same. He'll chew people out if they need to.
Yeah.
So you need to be able to put an arm around the shoulder, but also beat them around the ears occasionally.
I have the Celtics in 6 as well.
Yeah. Look, if Embiid plays, Celtic in 6. If not, it's a sweep.
Bucks are.
Bucks.
I guess I assumed they were in.
All happens so hard.
Knicks, Heat win game 1. It looked like, the Knicks were going to win game 1, and then they decided to score 6 points in the last 8 minutes of the game.
Yeah, look, I got to admit, before game 1, I had this one in my head that it was probably New York in 6 or 7. Again, I'm just backing Thibodeau is a really good coach. Let's not
defensively, he's very good,
and he's gotten a really good offense out of this group. Like he whether it's him or an assistant that he's just handballed it to, I don't know. But the Knicks play good offense, and
I think Quickly has a lot to do with that too. He gives them a spark every time.
Oh, he does. But ultimately, Spoelstra is Spoelstra.
Yeah.
And if there's anybody who's going to make in-game adjustments, it's going to be Spo. Because again, Thibodeau is he's like an Uber Budenholzer. He creates wonderful structures, but he generally, he's very dogmatic. He will stick to those structures even when Blind Freddy and his deaf dog can see that they're not working. Spoelstra is the master of in-game adjustments in this era of the NBA. So that's the worry for me, that Miami have stolen game 1. And as they get further into the series, Miami are going to increase their coaching advantage because one coach can adjust and the other generally chooses not to. So the Knicks probably needed to win game 1 and probably game 2 to win this one. Like I said, before the series, I had Knicks in 6 or 7. Assuming Butler's healthy, and Butler may not be human at the moment. So I'm assuming that they've just, changed some nuts and bolts on that ankle and he's going to be fine. I'm probably going to, I want to say Heat in 7, but I feel so bad about this because I still think the Knicks are really good.
I do too.
This is a hard one to pick. If Knicks had won game 1, I would have went Knicks in 6, but
I'm going Knicks in 7.
Yeah, you know what? I think I am too. I just Butler might be injured. Hero's not coming back. How
much can they overcome?
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? This Miami team just seems to do it all the time.
They're horrible.
To make a final in the bubble.
They're terrible.
Yeah. This season, they had the worst offense in the NBA, and it wasn't even close. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but the difference between 29th and 30th was similar to something like the difference between 29th and about 18th.
They have to lead the
They
league.
were cast adrift.
How many undrafted guys they have on the roster?
Oh, it's ridiculous. And look, yeah, that's another one that we haven't mentioned. Oladipo's out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like he's the 8th guy on that team.
And Bam's playing, and Bam's not playing very well.
Defensively, he's been probably just a hair below what you would expect, but he's been fine. Offensively, he started like in the play-in and the first few games. It looked like rookie Bam, where he just didn't want to touch the ball. He's gotten better as it's gone on, so hopefully he's out of whatever funk he was in. Yeah, the big thing is that Miami lent right into that tough, rugged defensive persona in the regular season. And this is where the beauty of Spoelstra. He's seen a few guys go down. He's gone, right, we're a three-point shooting offensive juggernaut now. Duncan Robinson had played like 300 minutes all year, and suddenly he's going to top that if they reach.
It literally feels like their strategy is, well, we're a three-point shooting team, and Butler will take over in the fourth.
Yeah, exactly. But even Butler, who put up 2 threes every 36 minutes, and made like 30% of them. Like suddenly he's hitting like he's turning into Klay Thompson. Prime Klay Thompson. He's just hitting these shots with hands all over him. He's hitting him at like his true shooting percentage in that series against Milwaukee was something like 70-something%, which for a guard, a wing, is absurd.
Yeah.
Just stupid numbers. Absolutely stupid numbers.
Here's somebody I think could be an X factor for the Knicks. Obi Toppin.
Yeah. I'm such a big fan of Obi Toppin, and I don't know what it is that
guy runs the floor every time.
But he's arguably the fastest 4 in the league. He's so quick. He's developed his 3-point shot really well. Look, he's very stiff and upright in his defensive stance, so he can get blown by.
He's pretty big, though.
Yeah, he's 6'10", and he's a really good leaper. Like, his recovery leap is really, really good. And, yes, he's slow east-west, but if you beat him, if you dilly-dally, because he's so quick north-south, he can get back and recover.
He's starting to figure it out, and he's really athletic.
Yeah, crazy athletic. The thing is, he's not young. Like, he was a 21-year-old when he came into the league, so he's about 25 now. But I just don't know why he doesn't play more than what he does. I think he's good. And I've said it before, #free Toppin. He would suit so many teams around the league. Like, to me, he's better than John Collins.
I agree.
I would rather have Toppin than John Collins.
I agree.
That's just the player.
It feels like one guy that could really shift the things in the Knicks' favor. Like, this Miami team, they're not dynamic in any way.
No.
And that guy getting out and running kind of can shift the focus. Like, I don't know. I think him, Quickly, Hart, those 3 guys off the bench, however you want to play them, can really shift the tides.
And that's something, you mentioned they're off the bench. Toppin's been starting because Randall's out.
Yeah.
When does Randall come back? And quite frankly, Randall is the exact sort of player that Bam Adebayo just swallows up and spits out.
Yep.
So how effective is he in this series?
Yep.
Toppin can at least outpace.
And he's so predictable. He's somebody Spoelstra's. He's had 20-page notes on him.
Oh, drive left, spin back over his right shoulder every single time. Credit to Randall. He's diversified since that All NBA season a few years ago. But yeah, his stats are better. Like, the eye test is not kind on Julius Randle.
Mm-mm. How about the 2 Western Conference teams that we got to go over? The Suns and Nuggets have already played. The Nuggets won game 1. I don't think Aaron Gordon has missed a shot yet. He's still shooting.
He was superb in game 1.
Unbelievable.
This was one for me. Before the series started, I was going to go Denver in 5, and I'm sticking with that.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, the one thing that I've looked at with that Clippers-Suns series was that, we talk about the death of the big 3. The Suns have a big 3. The problem is that third player is half Chris Paul, half DeAndre Ayton. They've really only got a big two. And
I'm so annoyed at Ayton.
Players, and then they've got nothing.
I'm so annoyed at Ayton. Like, he's so talented. I just wish somebody would say, aren't you more pissed off that you're not better?
Precisely. If I was his coach, like I would go up to the general manager, to the head coach, and say, look, I'm some pissant little assistant here. I'm going to go and punch him in the face.
Yeah.
Fire him up. But you give me a really good payout right now because I know you're going to fire me.
Yeah.
But trust me, I'm doing this for you.
Somebody has to do it.
Yeah. Someone needs to get him mad just to see what happens. Like, by all accounts, he is an absolute sweetheart of a man. Like, just a genuinely lovely human being, and his teammates love him as a person, but you can see them on the court getting pissed off with his lack of assertiveness. He is almost Giannis-like in his physical gifts.
And he can kind of shoot, like, mid-range shots. I trust him.
Yeah. But he's just, the amount of times he gets switched onto a 6'5" guard and shoots a fadeaway jump shot, like, it just, it kills me. It kills me that a man that physically gifted doesn't just put people in the hoop.
Yes. I'm taking the Suns in 6. I think they'll figure it out. I think Kevin Durant's the best player in the floor every single time that he steps on it in this series. And defensively,
the 2-time MVP there.
Defensively, I don't think the Nuggets are really that good. Like, it would be one thing if they really had some stoppers and Durant's job was going to be miserable, but I think he's going to score all series. Like, I don't think Denver's going to shut them down in terms of scoring.
No, you don't shut down Durant and Booker, but in Gordon and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and even Bruce Brown off the bench to sub him for Pope, they've got guys who can at least make Denver's...
What was Denver's defense over the year? I don't think they were a top 10 defense or top...
No, of course not. But you don't have multiple options on this Phoenix side. You've got two like devastatingly good players, but you've got two matchups that are really, really good for them. And ultimately, Chris Paul isn't going to beat you game in, game out. He's just too old, and Ayton is too timid. And then what are you relying on? Josh Okogie? Like,
Okogie can play defense.
Landale? Like, what are you getting from the rest of them?
I think the best player on the floor is Durant, and I think the third best player on the floor is Booker. I think it'll be enough.
Look, that's absolutely arguable. At worst, they're second and third best. But to me, I cannot see any way that, like, Booker is going to have to guard Jamal Murray because Chris Paul, he just doesn't have the foot speed anymore. That's going to wear Booker at one end, and he's got KCP at the other. Gordon isn't really going to worry about Durant's defense because he's just there as a cutter and a shooter anyway. And what on earth is Ayton going to do with Jokic? He doesn't have the game intelligence to be able to stay on the court with him. He is going to get tied into knots.
I think they're going to adjust. I think somebody's got to slap Ayton in the face, and they can't let Murray do that again.
Look, Gordon won't shoot as well as he did in game one. Murray has definitely got another 35-plus game in him.
That's fine, but they can't allow Murray to just do whatever he wanted, and that's
not. But in game one, Jokic was really deferential because he knew Murray had it going and knew Gordon had it going. If those two don't, or they get shut down, or they're just having a game where those shots aren't falling and Michael Porter's not hitting his shots, that's when Jokic is going to go and get 35 of his own because Ayton won't stop him. Can't stop him.
How about, I think Phoenix has done a really good job having Durant be that free safety in the middle. He's been a pretty good rim protector.
And he has been for a decade. He's actually really, really good at that.
He made a couple big blocks in that game one.
Yeah. But that's the thing. He's a he is 7 foot tall. He's athletic. He reads the game beautifully. But he's also built like a pencil. And Jokic is close enough to 300 pounds. Like, he's a dreadnought. And he's got a low center of gravity. He's just going to, like, if Durant decides, I'm going to help out, that's not going to do a thing.
I don't think they're going to do that.
No, they can't.
Let Durant be the roamer.
And this for me is the issue. I think that Durant and Booker will wear down over this series because they've got two really good defenders.
If he tears if he sprains his ankle, it's done.
Oh, I'm not even talking injuries. Like, to me, that's all the asterisk stuff that you can't predict.
Yeah.
But for me, Denver's already won game one. If Phoenix don't win game two, they don't win the series. They're winning
tonight. Or whenever they play next.
Because for me, ultimately, I think those two are going to wear down because Denver's got the right defenders for them, whereas Jokic can pick his spots. If Phoenix is stopping all of his wingmen, he can go to work on Ayton. And that's going to be really, really ugly for Phoenix.
For me, the wild card on Denver is Michael Porter.
Yeah.
Is Michael Porter hitting his shots, or is he doing that thing where he has the ball in his hand and he takes a couple side jabs and then he takes a bad 3-point shot and then he does the same thing and then he does the same thing?
There are times where he'll come off a pin down, catch it, and jab step, and there's no one within 5 feet of him.
He loves doing it.
Who are you getting off balance?
He jab steps every time.
He's you. He's a wonderfully gifted player, but
he's in his own way half the time.
Yes. Yeah. Look, the thing is he's still quite young as well.
Yes.
And especially when you consider that he's missed the thick end of 3 years of his 5-year career. He's someone who's probably still finding his feet a little bit within the situation too. But look, to me, if he's your third option against 73-year-old Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton, that's not a fair matchup for the Suns.
Suns win game 2.
Ooh,
guaranteed.
Big call. I think Denver will win game 2, and I think they'll steal one in Arizona, and then they'll win in 5.
All right. Last series. I have no idea where I'm going with this right now.
It's going to be so much fun this series.
Yeah. Lakers, Warriors. Oh, boy.
Yeah. It's the marquee matchup we all wanted. Steph Curry against Austin Reeves.
Yeah.
Do we get the D'Lo Revenge series coming up?
I will say, the way the Lakers kind of dominate on the offensive glass with Davis, they're not going to do that with Looney.
No.
That's like their biggest advantage, I feel like. They're so big around the rim. Davis grabs those boards, and once they start piling up, they're tough to beat. And this is the one team it's not really going to happen.
And the other thing is Memphis love to get to the rack.
Yes.
And because there was no, without the offensive rebounders in Clark and Adams there, Davis was able to fly around with impunity. He knew that if he didn't block the shot, he wasn't going to get, he wasn't going to give up an easy 2 points to these elite offensive rebounders. If he tries to do that, Golden State love to shoot 3 a lot more, so that takes away shot blocking. But also, if he does try and fly, Looney's going to get 7 or 8 offensive rebounds every night.
Yep.
So Davis and Looney is the sort of guy. We saw what Looney did to Sabonis. I mentioned it in the first round preview.
And Sabonis was awesome.
Sorry?
Sabonis was awesome in that game 7 too.
He was, but that was
matter.
the only one he was good in. The other 6 games, Looney had his number. And I mentioned it in the first round preview that Sabonis could have issues with Looney because Sabonis loves to get the up fake, the step through, like his footwork and his feints and his fakes.
He's never vertical either.
Well, listen, he gets people in the air. Looney never jumps. So all those fakes and feints and footwork were for nothing. And Looney just stood there and went, I'm still here. Shoot over. So, Davis could do whatever he wanted inside because he had, Jarrod Jackson is a wonderful defensive player in a particular scenario. But when he's having to defend down low against dreadnoughts, he's just not strong enough. Adams is so important to Jarrod Jackson Jr.'s game. So without him, we just saw Davis just literally bullock him out of the way. Davis won't be able to do that with Looney. Mm-mm. What he can do, if his shot comes back, which I think that ship has sailed, is he can stretch him out. But again, I don't think that's going to happen. The big thing for me with this one is how is LeBron's foot. If his foot is better, then the Lakers are favorites. If it's not, I would have Golden State favorites.
I'm a little worried they can't shoot with him. the Warriors, they start racking up the threes, and here comes Beasley. Beasley ain't getting it done. They don't
He's been terrible, this player. I'm a massive Malik Beasley fan.
Yeah.
He's been like, he won't be at the Lakers next season, surely. He has been god awful since he went there.
It's just,
he was great in Utah.
How many 3-point guys you trust on the Lakers? If you get into one of those shooting contests.
Jeez.
LeBron has to hit his shots from the outside.
And he's hot and cold.
Yep.
Look, D'Lo is probably D'Lo and Reeves are probably the best too. And D'Lo is an absolute he's feast or famine.
Yeah.
He will hit 8 threes in a game at some point in this series, but he will also shoot 1 for 8 from 3 in a game in this series.
Yep.
So really, you're probably looking, and this is the issue for the Lakers. They've got good 3-point shooters in Hachimura, in Schroeder, all these guys who can shoot, but don't always shoot well.
And not to the level that
for a game, they'll win. But if they all go cold at the same time,
and nobody that you trust to a level like Curry outside,
look, that's an unfair comparison.
Well, sure.
who in the history of basketball do you trust as much as Curry? But yeah, it's one of these things where if you were going to go with LeBron, AD, and 3 shooters that you knew were going to hit 35% every single game, it's probably Reeves, and that's it. The other guys could win you a game, but they could shoot you out of it as well.
Yeah.
Even going down right into the depth chart, someone like Lonnie Walker, he's got a good 3-point shot, but it comes and goes like the tides.
I think I'm going to take the Warriors in 7.
This is another tight one.
This is the one I feel least confident about.
Yeah. I think I'm with you. Warriors in 7, but much like that Knicks Heat series, I wouldn't put
I feel more confident in the Knicks than I do about this one.
Yeah, I would not put any hard-earned money on either of those series. These are super tight. Mm-mm. But this series is going to be a lot of fun. It's a shame that we don't get this. We've had lots of marquee matchups between Steph and LeBron before, but it has been a while. It's been since, when was the last Cleveland series? That 2018?
I'm so bad with the years.
I think it was 2000. Raptors won 2019, so it would have been 2018. So it's been 5 years since we've had a playoff series with these two. So, this is now genuine old man stage. Neither of them, Curry's still in his prime, but LeBron clearly isn't. It's almost a shame that we didn't get this last year when LeBron was still prime LeBron.
That's what happens when you trade for Westbrook.
The other thing is he's just...
I didn't mention him in an hour. I didn't talk about him once.
That's quite a good effort from you. You know what? We probably should mention, going back to that Clippers series.
Here we go.
Westbrook was actually good. I didn't think he had it in him.
I'll give him this. That's the best defensive effort I've ever seen him have in at least 10 years.
And he still shot the ball like shit.
Yeah.
But that's sort of, that's like the minimum expectation now that he's going to shoot 3 for 19. But he did everything else really, really well. He passed the ball well. He, as you mentioned, defensive hustle was superb. He read Durant.
He hasn't played defense like that in 10 years, at least.
No. And look, there's clearly not a lot of love lost between he and Paul. And as much as Durant says that he and Russ are tight, I don't buy it.
No.
I don't think Russ is the type to give up.
It had a lot to do with it, maybe.
Sorry?
Maybe that's why he was playing so hard on defense.
That was the point I was going to get to. He's got 2 guys that he dislikes more than most in this league. Mm-hmm. And it was a chance to say, hey, you guys are stars and you think I'm washed. Watch this. So he almost...
athletically, it's always been there. He's a great athlete. He could roll out of bed and jump.
Look, he's 80% of the athlete that he was, but that still puts him in maybe the top 15% of the NBA.
Yeah. So I'd never questioned that he's a good athlete.
No, he's a... Look, I got to admit, I was pleasantly surprised, shocked even, by Westbrook's series.
Still shot 3 for 19. And
yeah, but again, you sort of expect that. That's you're not bringing in Russ for the outside snipes. You know, it's if you're wanting him to get you 30 points a game with 4 threes, you're looking at the wrong bloke.
Yeah. Anything else to add? We're good.
Yeah, no, I think we're good. We've covered everything. Yeah, no, I can't think of another thing to add.
All right. That's Jarrod. Make sure to follow him again. Hey_it's_JP. Myself, Trey Daubert. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube if you're watching. Check out the site, vendettasportsmedia.com. We have the previews up already. I think that'll do it. See you guys next time.
One thing to add. Go Rangers.
Okay.
Where are we? Yeah, go Rangers.
All right. Yeah, Game 7's coming up here.
Yep.
That's going to do it. Thank you guys for watching That's Some Cheese, and we'll see you next time.